I'm here with Daniel Cordero, the Commodore.
You did well with that. That was good.
All right.
That was perfect pronunciation. You
all
nailed
right.
it.
Well, thank you very much. Well, welcome to ConBravo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very, very glad to be here.
So, are you enjoying things so far?
It's great. You know, it's always good to bring, I think, a lot of people that like the same kind of stuff together. That's what conventions are for. But ConBravo is very special because it's got an intimate kind of setting. It doesn't feel like you're right on top of everybody else, but it feels like in panels you can get closer to the people that are talking, and it seems to me to be a little bit more of an in-depth conversation in that regard. So I think it's great, and there's a lot more to do this year than there was previously, so it's been great.
Have you gone to the ball pit yet?
I have not yet, but I've heard that's something that can't be missed, so I'm going to have to pick that up before I leave, definitely.
So, as legends go, Clan of the Grey Wolf.
It's a mouthful, I know.
Yes, came about during a D&D session.
Yes. So we had a very regular D&D session that I had with a group of friends, including Rue, my co-founder for Clan of the Grey Wolf. And we just started having all these conversations that were maybe not your average video game conversations or not your average geek culture conversation where we were arguing about Star Wars and we throwing stuff across the room. You know, I mean, just getting kind of animated about it. Stuff that geeks do, right? And we thought during that time slot, why not try to put this together? And Rue had the idea, but why don't we try to put this together in something that, you know, maybe some other people would find this conversation entertaining. We all had different interests going into it, but it's panned out well because I think we bring a lot of different ways of looking at things together. I have kind of a more academic approach. Rue is a much more kind of classic gamer approach. He's a retro gamer by trade, man. I mean, that's what he does. Yeah. So we kind of bounce off each other, I think, pretty well, and you know, it's been good to us so far.
Yeah. How long have you been a gamer?
Oh my gosh, I was into. The short version of this is my dad wouldn't let us have consoles when I was a kid. So as a result, what we ended up doing was, but we could have computers. Okay. So I don't know where the logic is in that, really.
You can do schoolwork on a computer.
Yeah, maybe. It must be it. You know, you're right. You're not exactly typing up documents on an NES anytime soon. Yeah. Good point. But the thought was this, you know, if I can get them to be, I think this is what my dad was thinking, if I can get them to be kind of engrossed in technology, that'll give them good skills. And something like games just came naturally. It just happened. And so I had a Commodore 128, which is why I was named after that. Yeah. That was when we came up with the handles for the site. And I played literally just bins of those games and fell in love with the medium at that point as well. And then eventually, when I got a little older, drifted into the console world once I could pay for them myself and my dad didn't have to buy them for me. Yeah. So, long time.
What about pen and paper?
Pen and paper for, I would say, not nearly as long. So I was slow to that. Honestly, growing up, we played more kind of customizable card games. It was the heyday of the CCG era. Played a lot of Magic, played a lot of L5R, played Star Trek, Star Wars, all those kinds of CCGs. And that's what we did at lunchtime. I mean, we were the cool kids that were playing cards at lunch. Oh, yeah. You know? I would say it was probably early high school before I actually took the words Dungeons and Dragons and thought that they might mean something other than just what something other people did. Mm-hmm. And I've been playing kind of on and off ever since, but I love the openness of it. And I'm really excited to see where things go with 5th edition. 4th edition was, I think, an interesting vector to take. I'm not so excited about 4th right now. A lot of people move back to the Pathfinder. You and I just mentioned this. You know, Pathfinder is kind of where people land at the moment.
3.75, I think it's called.
Exactly, 3.75. A lot of people still play 3.5 as well. But I think it depends on which part of the canon you want to be a part of. But I think 5, from what I've seen, and every time I go to one of these conventions, I like to sit in on some of the panels for D&D Next, as they call it now, and just kind of see where things are moving. And I really like where things are going. What's interesting, too, and I saw this PAX. I'm from the New England area now, and I go to PAX East every year, and there was a great panel in the history of Dungeons & Dragons this year.
Oh, wow.
And they went over 30 years of history. But one thing I thought was really encouraging was that there is kind of a renaissance of tabletop gaming now. Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool. I think you're going to see a whole new generation of players come up that aren't necessarily tied to D&D, but like the idea of tabletop gaming.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. There's been a rise in geek culture, that it's coming more to the forefront of the mainstream.
Sure.
What do you think this might be attributed to?
Man, that is a tough question. I'll tell you this. I don't think Revenge of the Nerds did any of us any favors. So maybe we're all just kind of making up for lost time in some degree. But seriously, I think you have a lot of things going on. First of all, you can make a lot of money in geek culture these days. That doesn't hurt. If you go onto the show floor here, you're going to see a lot of people that make a lot of cool stuff that's off the beaten path. That's one of my favorite parts of the convention. You see how people take their kind of artistic talent and put it toward gaming culture, geek culture, right? I'm not saying I buy it all. I'm just, I could make myself bankrupt doing so. But I think it's great to see that kind of stuff. So making money is a big part of it. You can make money off it. But there's also kind of these cultural milestones. I'm not a huge fan of The Big Bang Theory. Not my favorite program. Truthfully, it's not a huge favorite among, I think, a lot of geeks themselves.
Yeah.
But a lot of friends that I have that are not very geeky, that are just kind of mainstream folks, love that show. So there's some kind of cachet. I don't know. That might be coincidental. That might be completely ancillary. Or it might be causal. I'm not sure. But I think you're right. Somewhere along the way, there was a piece of this that it became kind of cool to be a geek in some way. Or geeky about something, whether it's Game of Thrones, which is now ridiculously popular. You don't have to necessarily be geeky about everything, but if you're geeky about something, I think people can latch onto that and not be kind of social outcasts.
Yeah. Well, part of the flip side of this is with the rise of more people influx into genre media, there's the backlash against females and the creation of the fake geek girl.
Right. The Olivia Munns of the world, right?
Yeah.
I gotcha. I have mixed feelings about that. So I wrote my master's thesis on gender issues in video gaming, and it was it was kind of deeply engrossing about kind of some of the deep problems I think we do have in video gaming when it comes to sex and gender issues. But the idea of the fake gamer girl is a tough one for me. I think that there is an equal place for people of all, beliefs, colors, creeds, gender, sex, all those kinds of things. They can exist in this space. It's one of the cool parts of what I think make gaming and geek culture really cool. It's not, you don't have to check that at the door. The stereotype is that in order for you to get in the door as a female, you have to kind of fit stereotypically into the same category as a male counterpart or what have you. I think that's very problematic. People are people, and no matter what you look like, the kind of things that you enjoy, you can have a wide, diverse series of interests, and just because gaming is one of them, doesn't mean you have to be somebody that is faking it or not necessarily into it. I have a girlfriend that's not very geeky at all. She loves Game of Thrones, and she's more of a geek in that than I am. So there are ways that I think. Are there fake gamer girls out there? Probably, but there are fake everything out there, right? There are fanboys in just about every modicum of pop culture out there, from the Kiss Army all the way up to whatever you want to look at. Video gaming is no different, but that's okay, because I think that probably puts our focus in the wrong spot. The place we should be putting our focus are that we have fans that are women, and that's awesome. I don't know if that got to the point, but
yeah. No. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
it's
you.
Very informative, and
Awesome.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.